Thank you. OI Europe would like to thank the Council of Europe for inviting us to this historic event, because actually intersex people have been fighting for their rights for 2 decades now, so the first generation who had been subjected to unconsensual intervention already raised their voices, but it was until very recently, as Silvan very rightly pointed out, that those voices were heard by a broader public, and this was done also by the help of the LGBT community. The 2 documents that have been released today are milestones for intersex human rights in Europe. The issue paper, Human Rights and Intersex People, published by the Commissioner, Mr. Nils Muger, comprehensively maps how the medical norms of so-called female and male bodies have led to routine, non-consensual medical interventions based on the misheld belief that sex is a dichotomy. The document also highlights the shame and secrecy around intersex bodies that allow these practices to go on for decades now, while the human rights of intersex people have been at stake and for the most part unaddressed. The conclusions of the FRA focus paper are in line with the findings of OI Europe and national intersex NGOs. So-called sex-normalizing treatments are currently taking place all over Europe, violating the rights of intersex people to self-determination and bodily autonomy. Governments throughout Europe should take action to ensure the inclusion of intersex people in anti-discrimination and equality legislation. But there's also a flip side to these extremely important documents. The publication of these 2 reports by high-level European organizations makes it even clearer that human rights violations that intersex people still face are, with some exceptions like Malta, afforded more attention at the European level than in individual member states of the Council of Europe. We hope that more European governments will commence work on legislation that protects intersex people as per the recommendations of the Commissioner for Human Rights. Sex is, as is gender, a continuum. Reducing the bodily diversity that naturally occurs in humans to a binarity of a male and female sex, and defining all bodies that do not match this narrow perception of the world as being deviant and in need of being fixed, is not only an outrageous violation of human rights, it's stupid. It means sacrificing the rights of every one of us, of every human being, not only of so-called intersex people, on the altar of what? Of feeling safe because variety is dangerous, of being sure to know the rules, of having an easier life because at least one's sex is not questionable. The mere existence of intersex people is often considered a threat to the boundaries of the sex dichotomy. This is why we are neglected, discriminated against, and violated in our human rights. We call on you, representatives of governments and civil society, to join us in our fight against these violations, and against all boundaries, for intersex people as well as for non-intersex people. The recommendations of the issue paper of the Commissioner for Human Rights make it very clear the need for active outreach by national human rights structures towards intersex people. Improved public awareness, professional training, and active participation in research are crucial for developing a clear view of the true scope of the situation in Europe. Equality bodies, human rights commissioners, and children's ombudspersons should be clearly mandated to work on intersex issues and provide victim support to intersex people in order to facilitate intersex individuals' access to justice.